Let's return to the COVID situation and the toll on the restrictions it's having on people's lives. A woman trying to see her dying father has been asked to pay $7,500 to charter her own flight from Sydney to Melbourne quarantine. 32-year-old Anna Coffey arrived from New York 6 days ago. After learning her father had suffered a serious stroke, she booked a flight to Sydney. State authorities will not allow her to drive to Victoria to quarantine. Ms Coffey's received both doses of the Moderna vaccine and has tested negative 3 times to COVID. The Prime Minister wrote to her expressing his concern and sympathy over the situation. I spoke to Anna Coffey earlier in the day. Anna Coffey, thanks very much for your time. To start with, you're in a very difficult position. Can you give our viewers a sense of what's gone on? Describe your last week for us.
Yeah, so I received an initial call from my family last week telling me that my dad had a heart sort of incident that caused him to be put into a coma. But by the weekend, his condition had stabilised. But then, unfortunately, on Monday morning, New York time, I got the call from my mum letting me know that he'd unfortunately had another stroke that he wasn't going to recover from, and that I needed to get on the first flight back to Australia and be there as fast as I could. So I booked the next flight out that afternoon from New York, which was to Sydney, and then arrived back in Sydney on Wednesday morning, and then sort of started what I thought would be a simple, relatively simple transfer from hotel quarantine in Sydney to Melbourne, so that I could have the chance to, be able to see him a little bit. On Friday morning, provided some documents to both New South Wales government and Vic government, but kind of since that point, it's been very challenging, very slow moving, have a lot of documentation I have to provide. And then in addition to that, been told that the only way that I can be safely transferred between the two states is by a charter plane, which the quotes that I found are looking at around $7,000 to $8,000. So that's where things are currently standing right now.
When you consider the journey, you would have thought the more difficult part would be getting from New York, across the border into Australia, but it's proven not to be the case.
Absolutely. I think coming from New York, the requirements were relatively clear, and that I needed, a negative PCR test. I was able to do that. But once I have, as you said, arrived here, the process of getting across the border has been very opaque, and just really a lot of documentation required beyond what I had ever sort of imagined.
You've had several negative tests. You've had 2 vaccination jabs as well, but that really hasn't changed much at all in terms of the way authorities have been treating you.
Absolutely not. Even in the initial process that I went through, there was nowhere to spec. They didn't even bother asking if I was vaccinated. It didn't factor into any part of the process whatsoever, which is kind of crazy.
You spoke about the charter flight cost. What's your plan now? Will you be able to get to see your dad over the next few days?
I'm really, really hoping that I can make something happen on that front. So there's the charter flight part of it, obviously trying to figure out how to pay for that and make that happen. But then there's also all the other hoops that I need to jump through. So there's still more documents I need to provide. There's more clearances from the hospital that I need. I need to provide another negative COVID test. I need to get the authorities at either side to sort out how they're going to transfer me securely from hotel quarantine to the airfield. So I'm not hopeful it'll be in the next few days. Maybe, I really hope by the weekend, if everything sort of goes to plan. But it's definitely still going to take some time to work through.
Now, we spoke before we went to air. Your dad is in a stable condition now, but obviously things are still not great for him given the events that we've seen the last week or so that he's experienced. What's the prognosis?
So I guess, so he's in a palliative care facility now. The issue is, I mean, the doctors can't provide any guarantee whether it will be in an hour, tomorrow, next week. They just don't know because he's at such high risk of another sort of incident with his heart because they don't really know why that happened in the first place. It's just, really important that I get there as fast as I possibly can.
And the Prime Minister reached out to you when he read about your situation, a very difficult situation that you find yourself in.
Yeah, he did that. That was nice, but I guess it's not really much that he could do. It's in the hands of the states at the moment to kind of work together and help me through it.
Well, we wish you all the very best, Anna Coffey. Hope that you get to see your dad and be with your family at a very difficult time. Thank you for sparing a few moments with us.
Thank you so much.